Hello and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. I'm Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global, and I invite you to kick off your heels, get comfortable, and be ready to receive the golden nuggets that are shared as you listen in to candid conversations I have with fascinating women from around the globe. Business leaders, entrepreneurs, humanitarians, athletes, and a whole lot of regular people. They will keep you riveted as they let their guard down and open up on aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure success and what they have learned along the way. My intent is that our conversations will inspire you to embrace opportunities and possibilities beyond the limits of your imagination, because I know that this is where we reclaim our power. I want you to reclaim your power, your strength and vulnerability, to stand in your truth and propel yourself towards the life that you dream to live. Hello and welcome everybody to Memoirs of Successful Women. I am just so excited about my guest today. Her name is Pamela Jones. First of all, just welcome to our program, Pamela.
No, thank you, Annie. It's such an honor to be featured here on your podcast.
It's a delight to have you. And Pamela's coming from Minnesota in the US. As all of you know, I'm in Sydney, Australia. So it's just so wonderful. Every week I get to share with these incredible women from around the world, whom we're all just doing our thing and we've all got our own story. And wait till you actually hear Pamela's story. Oh my goodness. I just actually can't wait to explore it because it's just like, what? Pamela is a mother, a grandmother, an entrepreneur, an author, and a cult survivor. She finds values in her newfound freedom, success, and in actually sharing her story to encourage others to really step into their best self. She discovered her identity when she courageously took her and her 9 children and $5 bill and escaped a misogynistic Mexican cult in the early 2000s. And so now she's got immense gratitude for her past challenges that have really catapulted her into living the rewarding life that she has today. But oh my gosh, what a journey it has been, and what a bold woman she was to actually be in that position that went, oh my gosh, I actually have to get out of here. So wow. I don't even know where to start, but I will just dive in there and go, Pamela, how did this situation happen? How did you, what led to, first of all, you actually getting into this cult?
Well, I was born into the cult. So
Right.
I knew nothing different than the cult. So I lived in California for a few years, and then my parents decided to leave to Mexico and work there with the church, which was really a cult, but they always call them godly. And I was taken there when I was 10.
Right.
And then I lived there until my escape. So willingly, I never joined the cult. But yes, as most would think a cult would be, that's exactly how it was. It was very misogynistic and a very dark and a very troublesome cult. And so I escaped there 23 years ago, and I was the first person to ever escape. And once I escaped, several of the women were able to leave. So it was a wonderful blessing in the long haul. Very scary, though.
Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So you were actually born into this cult. You don't know that. You're living your childhood and go, this is just life. Isn't this how everybody lives? So as a child, you think everything is normal, right? You then, move at the age of 10. You're then suddenly in Mexico. And as you're getting older, you're going, this isn't right. When you say I never joined it, wasn't it assumed that you were part of it because you were a child in that environment?
Well, I was born to, it sounds terrible to say it this way, but I was born to be bred and to provide offspring for the leaders of this cult, which would be my husband. So being born a woman, I had already a predestined, what I was supposed to do. So just that in itself, just being a woman and realizing that was my responsibilities, was to have the children for the cult or for my husband, then I never thought anything outside of that. And then my father was an alcoholic and very abusive. So he was so hard on his daughters. And we were to be able to get married and move on, we had to be fertile, we had to be decent, we had to be honorable. So I was married off at 15, which I got to choose my husband, but that was a blessing, so I could get away from the abuse of my father. So at the time, I thought getting married would be the best thing. So I was excited about it, and I prepared for it as soon as I became a woman. So at 13, I became a young lady, and then I decided I better start getting ready. So I had to learn how to cook, how to sew, and how to clean, which I had been raised to do those things. So I was ready. And in fact, when my husband proposed to me, that was part of the proposing line was, hey, you know how to cook, you know how to clean, and you can have children. What else do you need to know? Let's get married. So I did.
Oh my gosh, listeners around the globe are going, what? Does this still happen? Yes, this is not that long ago. And this is actually still happening in cults around the world, or environments like that. Just the way they actually see a woman and what you then assume is your natural, role in life. Absolutely phenomenal. So when you said you got to choose your husband, this person isn't in the church or is in the church?
Yes, he's in the church. So he was half Hispanic gentleman, and my father, unfortunately, was racist. So I really didn't think I'd end up being married to this gentleman, but it was either him or some older married man or something to that kind of story. And I was certain I was never going to marry an old man, much less someone that might have been married. So he was a good option, I thought. He was a little bit wild, I thought. So I thought, well, I'll get the bad boy. He had the long hair, and I believed he might have even smoked weed, but he'll deny that. But at the time, I thought, great, I'll get a taste of life, and I'll marry this hot little Hispanic boy, and I won't have to be under this rigid religion. But I was duped, and once I married him, it was a very hard life. He was very racist, and his father had started their own little church, and they were very misogynistic. So I struggled as a woman. I'm a very curvy woman, and when I was married, I was supposed to find a way, you're going to laugh, but I was supposed to find a way to get a bed sheet and create a dress of some sort that would cover the fact that I was big-chested and had a tiny waist. I would bawl my eyes out trying to sew these sheets into some kind of sort of a dress, because I was not to turn the head of men in any which way. And during the time of my marriage, women were not to be educated. And so part of my story is about, every time I would get pregnant, or you would prepare for for having a baby. Excuse me, I'm a little bit nervous. So you get your clothing, the gender or whatever you think is going to happen, and you're preparing to be a new mother. And then part of my preparations is I would go outside and I would sign my name in the dirt, because I knew I had to sign these legal documents, and that's the only time I was able to use a pen of any sort. So I would practice signing my name, so on the birth certificate of my child, I could, write my name, and I would sit there and practice in the dirt, which is part of my story, because the name of my book is Sign My Name 9 Times, because when I was married and had the children, I had only signed my name 9 times by the time I had escaped. Now, owning the businesses that I have, I sign my name hundreds of times a month, and it's just an amazing journey of that, coming from nothing to where I am today.
So amazing. So amazing. So you had 9 children with this man. You're then at this moment, here you are, a mum, pretty much stuck, right? You're a mum living in a cult with a misogynistic, controlled situation. You have $5 to your name. How do you escape? How do you get brave enough, bold enough? What was that moment that you just went, oh my gosh, I have to do it now?
Well, in the cult, they believed in a ritual. It's called the blood atonement. And that meant that any person that had committed sin, or if I tried to divorce or leave, that I would be captured and I would have my throat slit, and the blood would I never saw this ever happen. It was just a scare technique. But at the time you believe this stuff. Now I look back and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell for that. But that's how they kept you there. So the reason I tell you this is that I had to get to a point where I was willing to die.
Yeah.
So going through I went through severe hunger. I would eat pigweed, and I had a few goats, and my ex-husband, or the husband at the time, I should say, was very controlling, from what I ate, what I wore, what I said. I'm very soft-spoken, so I was kind of insecure with that anyway. So I got to a point that I was not to be heard. I was just to be, do my duty, not even seen for that matter. So as time went on, something in me, and this is what I really believe, that every human has something in there that just knows, and you just know. And that was just growing. And as I got stronger and was growing up, obviously, and having these children, I just knew that there was something else out there for me. So with that in mind, I came to the point that when I was ready, I thought I would rather die than live this way. So on the day that I left, I had a conversation with God after I loaded all the kids into this van. I had lied to my then husband, telling him that I was just taking a little vacation and I would come home and I'd be obedient. And he told me fine. He knew I couldn't go far. I had no money, and he was going to plaster my pictures all over the border. There, I crossed over in Juarez, Mexico, into El Paso, Texas. He was going to plaster our pictures there, and they would turn us back, and on and on. So that morning, as I'm leaving my home, I just thought, I'm ready to die if that's what it takes, but I will not raise 9 children in this life. I don't want to have my 5 daughters be raised like me, and my 4 sons to end up like him. So I had it out with God, and I was just about to take my toe over the threshold, and I looked up at him and I said, take my life, I'm ready. But if you don't take my life, I'm going to take my whole foot out that door. And I did, and I looked out there and nothing happened. I said, okay, now I'm going to put my rest of my body out there. You can take my life, take it now, but I'm going to go. And when we meet, whether I'm in heaven or hell, we will talk about this. But until then, I'm going to save my kids. So I loaded my children in the car, and nothing happened, and we traveled. I had no idea where I was going or what I was going to do. My children at the time were Hispanics or Mexican citizens. I was the only American citizen. So in my book, I tell all the detail. We got across that border. It was an amazing story, and hit the road. And I had no plans of building the American dream and becoming successful. My plan at the time was feed the kids.
Exactly. Feed the kids, just survive. Don't get shot by someone. Like the absolute terror when you're under this impression that people are going to be after me, they're going to be chasing me, people are going to find me. What does that mean? I could die. This isn't a decision just for yourself. This is affecting your 9 children. It's the whole lot. The admiration I have for you at this moment, just hearing this story, and those listening would just go, wow, what a woman to believe that there is more, and to believe in your worth and your value, but also to actually be brave enough and be bold enough that you go, I would rather die to make this, to make this future a better future for yourself. Absolutely incredible. So yes, on behalf of everyone listening, wow. Congratulations for that. So you've then gone and escaped. You didn't suddenly get struck down and found. What do you do on the other end? You suddenly arrive in America and go, what do I do now?
Well, I had found 2 credit cards in my then husband's briefcase that had my name on it. I knew nothing about a credit card, but there was my name. I thought, what are these? I kind of figured it out. So I had snuck those. And I think one had $1,200 and one had $400 on it. And that was more money than I'd ever. So I thought I'd live a lifetime on that. So once I got to America and, crossed the border, got the kids going and purchased our food for that day. We had been kind of starved out. That was part of another one of the procedures when you were becoming rebellious, is that you would go hungry. You'd go hungry. They'd make you want in every area you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was excited. I got to go to the grocery store. I bought bread, bananas. What else would you buy for all the kids? Anyways, and I had gone to the American Council there in Juarez to see if I could get my papers that I had been working on secretly. And they said no, whatever the story was. So I crossed over, ended up all the way in Draper, Utah, where I had a friend I had met years ago. And she kind of helped me figure it out. So I borrowed a trailer home, and my boys started drywalling, and then I started to clean a house, just cleaned one little house. And my baby was still nursing, so I put the kids in school for the first time in their life, and I'd run down to the mailbox because I was so excited to get mail. And it would say Pamela Jones, and I would just, tears would roll down my face, and I think someone's thinking of me. And I'd cut out the little tickets where it would say, 2 hamburgers for the price of one. I thought, these people want me to get 2 hamburgers for the price of one. It was so personal. And I would go home at night feeling lonely, but in my heart, I thought, there's people out there thinking about me, and they know I'm an American citizen, and I would love a hamburger. So I loved going to my mailbox every single day to get, and it solidifies that every human wants to feel connected.
Yeah.
And feel like they matter. And at that time, it didn't mean nothing to the junk mail. Now, of course, I know what that is, but back then I didn't. I didn't mean anything to them at the time, but they don't know that to me, I meant everything to them, because I got those letters every single day without fail. It wasn't letter, it was junk mail, but to me, it was letters. So I started feeling like, I matter. And I started on this amazing journey. And to be honest, that's when my life really took a turn. For the most challenging times, yet the most rewarding, is when I started to step into who I was and find out more about who I was. And that journey just wasn't the most amazing thing I could ever, think about. Sometimes I look at my life thinking, I used to eat pigweed, and now I can have caviar. I don't like caviar, but I can have it.
You can if you want to. And that's the difference, right?
So coming to America, to answer your questions, I feel like it was just a daily thing. I didn't have this plan to achieve the American dream. I didn't know what that even meant. But my plan was to survive. And then from there, if one, kind of just build it one upon another. I got a bank account that worked out great. And no one, we weren't, I had all my kids. My life wasn't taken. No one was trying to hurt me. The cult that I left, they had a lot of murder in their history. And I had gone to several funerals of a lot of unnecessary murder that came from one of the, I guess he would be called, I think they call him the Mormon Manson. And he just left a trail of murder in his followers. So I was used to being scared all the time. So coming to America, that was one of the first things that I think I learned, besides getting mail and that I mattered, was that no one was going to get me. And that was my first lesson. Yeah. No one was set out, no one was going to take my life. I was safe. And it was just the most amazing experience to come to a country that you felt like I was home. And then I put all my kids in school, and I would go and sit at their parent-teacher conference, and they'd have an F in every single subject. Even PT was our physical exercise. It was an F. And I'd go home crying my eyes out with all my children, thinking, all these kids, and they're all F students. Yeah. And it was overwhelming. But we started, just one little step. Let's get 1 D. So if you get D, just in exercise or whatever, then we'll start there. And not too long after that, they all became honor roll students. And part of the cult's educational system was to teach and have you believe that you're dumb. Yeah. So that was part of it. My children were dumb. I was dumb. No one would ever listen to us. I couldn't even order fast food because I was so afraid of how to say a sandwich or a burger. And I would say it wrong, and I couldn't. And it was just the trials and the little hurdles I had to go through to be where I'm at today has just been a fun and amazing experience, to say the least. But been in America now for 23 years, and all my children are married, and I'm really proud. I think of my accomplishments. I'm really thankful and proud of putting these 9 beautiful, outstanding citizens out into our community. And
so proud.
We had every reason to be doing on drugs, alcohol, or whatever else is out there, and yet through the grace of God, they turned out to be amazing children and amazing citizens. And I have 29 grandchildren and 6 step-grandchildren. And it's been a wonder. I'm super busy all the time.
You're just super proud because to go through that situation and just to pour the love and every single breath that you have into these children to go, you're going to have a better future, so that focus, I can imagine at the time, it's like you want to be well and healthy and thriving, but at this stage it's kind of like, how do I actually just get back into life? How do I get them into school and go from E's, or F's? Because of course if they haven't had that schooling, they're not silly. They're, so much had happened in their experience, their mindset, their belief system. To overcome that and to actually, grow into happy, healthy, balanced adults is just a real testament to the parenting that you did. And I'm assuming you were a solo parent for a significant period of time there before you remarried.
Yep, a solo parent till the children were all grown. It was easier that way, being that I was building my business, that I just didn't have no spare time. And I'm a hands-on. I would say I'm a very loving, and I would say I'm a hard parent. And what I mean by hard parent is I do the things that are hard on myself. So discipline was hard on me. I'm sure it was hard on the child that got their time out or I must admit, whatever it was, whatever I had to do to keep them in line. If I could keep one in line, then I could keep them all in line. But I always tell my friends and audience that I was a hard parent, and it was hard on me because I didn't get to do what was comfortable. My kids never became my friends. I told the children, if you put over my grave, here lies my best friend, I will haunt you for the rest of your life. I paid a big price to be your parent, and it better say, here lies my dear parent, my dear mother.
Dear mother.
Yes, so I think that contributes to to them being great children. Is I rolled up my sleeves, and it wasn't about making me feel good and happy. It was about doing what was best for them. And there was lots and lots of challenges, but I became a grandma at 38. I told them to wait till I was 40, but no one listened to me.
I'm too young to be a grandma.
Yeah, I didn't mind being the grandma, but when I left the hospital after assisting my daughter with her baby, her and her husband were there, I had never worked so hard to have a baby and go home empty-handed in my life. I bawled my head off when I got home. I thought that was so much work, and she gets to keep the baby. So,
that's classic. That's classic. Now, listen, I've just got so much. Oh my goodness, we could just talk for hours. I do want to ask you, because I know the listeners are thinking, well, what business did you create? How did you go? You've got 9 children. You're raising them. You're a single mom. You've started with $5. You've moved from getting the pizza deals of 2 to 1, going, wow, that's amazing, to suddenly being actually part of the American dream. So what is your business? What did you create? What were your steps to do that?
So I created a house cleaning company. So we clean residential and commercial homes. I've been in business for 22 years. I employ just shy of 40 employees. And that's not what my goal was. My goal was to feed the kids, but I had this little plan. But as it played out, I did all the work myself in the beginning, and then got my daughters one at a time to help me. So I have 5 daughters, and they started helping me. And then from there, I just never could say no. And because, running a household, and I'm a perfectionist to add to the rest of my struggles, being a perfectionist and raising 9 kids, it really teaches you how to be efficient. So raising my daughters that way, and then providing the service, exquisite cleaning, my company took off. It was never the plan. And then one day I woke up back in 2008 and realized I had a business on my hands. And so then I started learning all the hard lessons through owning a business, through trial and error, and lots of meditation, and lots of prayer, and lots of discipline. and was able to create this company where I've spent the last probably 8 years and just learning to manage and moving forward. And what I love the most about the company is that we are changing lives one home at a time. And we're giving back these busy families, giving them back their weekends to spend with their children instead of doing the mundane cleaning. And it's being a perfectionist myself, it's such a good feeling and such a great value to have a clean home. To, that giving that to my clients has been a pure joy. So it just kind of happened. It wasn't my intention until one day someone asked me, so how did you feel when you made your first million? And I said, first of all, my accountant had to tell me I made $1 million because I was too busy. And I said, really? And she said, well, how did you feel? And I said, I thought, wow, that was easy. Now what? I'm a millionaire. Now what? So we just kept growing and kept moving forward. And then from there, obviously, I've gotten older, so I no longer work in the field or any of that kind of stuff. And you're going to laugh, but when I would go into a lot of my clients' homes, they would always follow me around the house to hear my stories because I've had so many stories. Anyways, I was told to write a book. You should write a book. Well, I was too afraid to write a book because there were so many things that I thought I'd get in trouble for. But both my parents have passed, so then I thought, well, now I can do that. Yeah. So then I started to write my book, and then started speaking. And first it was church, and then school, and then women's meetings, and then little by little just started speaking in public about my experiences and showing through my story the inspiration that anybody has it in them if they have the desire, whatever it could be, can be done. And through my story, I was able to move people and inspire. So then I decided, well, what the heck? I might as well see where this leads me. So then I started a second business where I mentor and I speak publicly to any group that will listen about the stories and my journey of coming from nothing and stepping into everything. And what's so funny is that it doesn't change much, except people say, wow, you're a millionaire. But to me, my true gift or my true achievement was the children.
Yeah.
Putting them out there that are doing so well, and my beautiful grandchildren, and those feel like achievements. And of course, my beautiful body and my health, I think that's an achievement as well. I couldn't even all my teeth,
Exactly. It's all a juggle. It's a juggle. It's a family. It's your mama heart is just roaring through this conversation, and I can feel that when you go, well, what was the most successful thing? Actually, your children, to actually raise that many children, to be, happy, healthy adults, considering their circumstance, and to have, thrived so much. I'm assuming many of them or all of them have
They're
worked.
All business owners. They're all business owners
because they've had that role modeling, and it is absolutely fantastic, and it shows that you seriously can do anything. So your secret to success, then, do you believe, what is your main ingredient? Those listening in go, okay, well, you're an incredible success story. What was it? Was it your, just deep desire to change your circumstance? Was it just your perfectionistic focus on what you're doing every day? Was it the fact that you just were in an area that you go, you know what, I love cleaning houses and other people love me doing it, and so I'm just going to work the win-win situation? What was it for you?
I think that what it was for me is when I would sit and be quiet, which you can imagine with the large family doesn't happen that often, but I made sure I had that time, and I was quiet with myself. There was a knowing inside of me that I knew that I was meant for so much more. And I had made a promise to myself that I would say yes to any and all opportunities. Now, I don't mean to hurtful things. I'm just saying, if something showed up and it felt good or it felt right, instead of being afraid and not doing it, I was going to do it. I had already lived in fear for 34 years. Yeah. I was told to stay small and to shut up and be quiet, and your opinion don't matter. When I got my freedom, I was never going to let that go. So I would think one of my secrets is doing it afraid. And not wait to not be afraid and then do it. Just do it even though you're afraid. And I believe within me, I knew what I wanted. And that's what I wanted to explore everything that this girl was capable. Now, I can't run a marathon. That's not in me. There's a lot of things that are not in me. But the things that I really believe I was created for, I cut out to be, I don't want to say no to it just because I'm afraid. Which I'm afraid all the time, even when we got onto this, I can't believe this happens to me still, especially for some reason, this seems a different setup, that I still get so nervous and scared. And sometimes I tell myself, I can't believe that's me that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel vulnerable because, I have to get up here and say, you know what, I did eat pigweed. Yeah, I did pick rat poop out of my children's food. Yeah, I cried several nights because something in me said, you were created for so much more than this. And how was I going to escape or leave this? I was cunning. I lied. I remember my ex-husband say, "You're such a liar. You lied." And I said, "Well, heck, but look what my lie got me.
Yeah.
I'm out of here."
I'm so thankful I lied at the time.
my pastor told me one time, he says, your story, and he didn't know most of my story. He says, your story and your life, I've never met someone that has been through so much, and yet you're so well-rounded. He says, what are you on? What have you taken? What have you done? And then I'm thinking, well, I guess it's time to confess. So I'm going to be vulnerable and tell you. So he's ready. And I said, well, Pastor, I did consider taking Tylenol PM once. He laughed his bottom. He laughed like no tomorrow. And I said, that's as far as I've gone. And he's like, oh my gosh, of course, the mother,
Adorable. You were so adorable. I love it. I love it. That's right. It's not everyone turns to drugs. They just, you turn to grit. You turn to your deep, deep core of what it takes. And I love that. And you've also been incredibly, vulnerable, and having to find your own sense of power. Despite, and that's what I want those listening in to know, to be hearing this conversation. And successful people show up every day consistently. They do it unapologetically when they're brave enough. They do it in a way that they'll power through, even though they might be terrified. Right. Even in this situation for you, Pamela, that you're fearing for your life, you go, it has to be worth it. I'm all in. And I absolutely love that, because your story demonstrates that, if you're half in, if you're tentative, you'll go back to the safety zone, right? And your safety zone was not safe. And that's the funny thing, isn't it? You look back and you must thinking, well, although I didn't like it, it still felt safe, and the unknown is so scary. Whereas your journey has shown you, the unknown is scary, but it could also be absolutely brilliant. And to believe in that and to make that happen is just this is a masterclass on success, actually, on what it actually takes and what it looks like.
One more thing I want to add to what you're saying, because this is what I've seen, and I've seen it in so many of my clients, so many women that I've mentored and talked to. It keeps coming back, and it's been proven to be the truth. So I'll use myself. Well, I'm soft-spoken, and I never liked my voice. I'm born to this family cult, whatever it is. You're not supposed to speak anyways. And when I do speak, they're always like, huh, what? Can't hear you. And so when I get in my shell more, I'm born, to a Mexican cult, so English is my second language. And I get so insecure with my voice. I never speak up for myself. I never use my voice for anything. I can't handle even listening to it, to be honest. And then I, fast forward to now, and I decide my passion and what I want to do more than anything is to share my voice with the world. And I just think that is so two opposites of the spectrum. To come with this voice that's so soft and so much insecurity and oppression. And now all I want to do is to use my voice and say, hey, girl, whatever that is, you know what it is. I don't, because I don't live in you. But you got what it takes. It's all in you. You can do it. You may do it afraid. All your life it might have been, you love to bake baked goods. And now you're at a place to where you're teaching how carbs are wonderfully healthy, and you're some fitness person. You think, how could that be? That's how I feel about my story, is that, and still to this day, I struggle with my voice because English was my second language. And so even though I was born American, but I speak Spanish translated to English today. So I still get tongue-tied a little. And I laugh and I think, here you are, you're a completely American woman looking in every which way. You have this tongue tied because you're Spanish, and yet you want to speak to the whole world. It just nothing matches, but I love it because we all have these stories of how we've gotten where we're at. And there is no box or no recipe or nothing you can follow and say, this is what you'll get at the end, because when it's all said and done, it's what's in our heart and our desire and what drives us. And I'm super thankful for my life. Yes, it was hard. There was lots of scars internally, emotionally that I still struggle with. But on the other hand, I feel like I've enjoyed a very happy, blissful, robust, thriving life because of those hard things that I had to do. And I did it super afraid. I mean, I should have been wearing Depends back then, because everything scared the heck out of me. First time I had to talk to the IRS, I thought I was talking to the devil himself, and it was such a wonderful experience. But to get to there, it was really hard.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people need to hear. All of these steps that look just so brave and bold, you know, they are terrifying at times. You know, all of us will have these moments that you go, oh my gosh, I'm almost going to have to pretend I'm someone else to just get there because I don't feel strong enough in myself. It's not, you know, if they knew how sweaty I was, or petrified, or what's going to be the response, the what ifs, the imposter syndrome, the will I be even able to articulate my needs? But you've powered through, and you just go, most of it is showing up. You just show up and you just have that situation, and the confidence builds. And I love what you said about your voice, actually, because it's not the power of the voice. Your voice is enabling your story and your heart and your message of empowerment to be shared with the world. So that voice, as you get older, will become stronger and more confident. But it's not about that. It doesn't change the story. In fact, you know, your voice as you are is actually exactly who you're supposed to be, because that's who people hear, you know, and that's people will therefore tune into more, and they'll be riveted by that. So it's interesting what we actually make an issue ourselves, whereas, you know, no one else would be thinking that at all. And I tell you what, you've done an amazing job over the years getting your American accent back, because you'd never know you're Spanish.
I get asked all the time, oh, where are you from? Norway? Are you Norwegian? And I think,
Yeah.
no, I'm just Mexican, American. Yeah.
Mexican American is like, what?
Sometimes I want to just recreate my Spanish accent and talk like Sofia Vergara, because then people would understand, like, okay, you know, but no, that would be hard too. But yeah, through the years,
but it might actually, you know, take you back to a place that you didn't want to be, you know, and that what you've done is you've completely reinvented, you know, Pamela Jones. You've reinvented yourself as you are for the woman of today and the woman of the future. And I think that is a wonderful thing, that you don't have to stay in the shadows of where you were and try and sort of capture all of that. You know, you are as you are, however that looks and however you show up. And
sometimes I feel like my story is kind of an easier story to say, oh, I can see why she had some hard times, or she was a prisoner, or she struggles because of, you know, my dad, all these things. But my story is a little easier, you might say, for people to actually understand. But I think all of us women, we have something that keeps us somewhat prisoner, whether it's thin supremacy, we all have to be thin, or whether it's, you know, whatever else is out there that we have this pressure, or be productive, or, you know, be the best parent 24/7 and be full of vitality and exercise and all these things that we have this pressure. I think all women have something that keeps us prisoner. My story is easy for people to, oh yeah, I can see why that sounds hard. Oh, you had to eat pig weed. Oh my goodness, that does sound hard. Pig rat poop out of food. That sounds horrible. But how about when everything looks so perfect to the Facebook or to the naked eye out there, but no one understands the struggles that we go through within ourselves, that's constantly pushing us to, you know, you're not good enough, or you didn't do that quite right, or you're not at the right weight, or you're not keeping up with technology. That's hard for me to keep up with all these new things that are happening, or other women that are super successful. They have a bunch of kids and they're running these wonderful businesses. They own 5 or 6 businesses. And here I am home. My kids are all gone. And all I have to do is make beds. And I can't even do that right, whatever it is. So I think that for me, it's easy to see my struggles because they're like, oh, wow. But I honestly believe that all of us have deep struggles within us that we are constantly working through, trying to live that life that we so bad want to and have those experiences, because we're each seeking an experience. And that to me is, I sometimes feel blessed because I have so much, but on the other hand, I don't wish it upon anybody though.
Of course.
As far as the struggles, I'm not talking about the economics. I'm talking about the struggles.
The struggles you would never wish on anyone. But the reality of life is that we all do have struggles in our own way. No one can escape it. And it also is a way that we grow and become who we are through that journey. And that's true. What you've shared there is it's the invisible struggles, and we all have invisible struggles. So it's kind of like your scenario is a bit like, if you've got a broken leg and you can see the cast, you can see the situation, you can see the pain, and I get a real package of that. Whereas when you've strained something or you've got something invisible, other people don't automatically see that, and they can actually just see the gloss and the amazing, and you might even portray that so that other people don't know. But we all have it, everyone listening, and that's why I love my podcast, Memoirs of Successful Women, because as you unpack every successful woman's life, you'll actually see very real people, real struggles, real journeys, which sometimes are just seriously amazing and just floor you and go, wow, people's heads will be just processing, imagining your life and what it took for you to escape and to become who you are today. But they'll also then connect with the invisible struggles that they have, they don't always feel strong and they don't always feel confident, and they do feel embarrassed if you actually dig a little deep and then the tears well up. And that's actually normal. And that's what we want to do. We actually want to normalize that the ebbs and flow of life are challenging, but it's actually how you ride through them and how you, continue to strive to be a better person for yourself, and also in your situation beautifully demonstrated for your family, for those who depend on you, for those, the legacy that you want to leave, that your life mattered, and you've been incredibly powerful in that journey. So I just want to congratulate you again. It's just been such an amazing conversation. I thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for your time.
Day. For those of you who do want to reach out and just connect, you can go to pamelaspeaks.live and you can see her website scrolling on the screen for those of you who are watching on YouTube or LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, just not on the podcast, but on the podcast platform, I'll have all of Pamela's details, that you'll be able to find her details on how to access her book, how to hear more about her story. Just tell the listeners, just to finish, what's the name of your book?
So my book is named Sign My Name 9 Times, memoir.
Sign my name 9 times, because that's what this beautiful woman had to do. And then since then, she's done it millions of times as she's just gone about life, and how amazing that is. Just so fascinating. Great title. Absolutely love it. So you'll be able to find that everywhere.
And you'll find that it doesn't get released until 2024, but I don't want to wait until it gets released to talk to as many people as I can. So
absolutely. Contact Pamela now and get on the list.
Get on the list, and you'll be gripping the edge of your seat. The story's full. It's an emotional, yet some humorous, and a lot of detail, but it's beautiful. And I've been feeling super vulnerable because all my secrets are out there now.
That's right. You've shared it to the world. I know it's super vulnerable when you do it. And then after you've done that, because I've got a memoir as well, you just go, oh, I'm done. I don't have any secrets. It's actually incredibly liberating. And then you go, well, I can just do anything now.
Yeah. What other trouble can I get into?
Exactly. There's always the next chapter. Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love you to finish and close by your motto. What is your motto that you say every day?
My motto is, I can, I will, and what's next.
Beautiful.
So that's got me through. And I believe the same is achievable for every single one of your listeners and anyone who's not listening.
I can, I will, and what's next? Lovely way to close. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. I'm Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global. And if you would like to fast track your future success, hop on over to womensbizglobal.com. Find out about all things women's biz and most importantly, take the opportunity to have a free trial of Women's Biz Tribe. I look forward to seeing you online very soon. Until next